go ahead and bring the Board of Works meeting to order. Were you guys given a chance to read the minutes from the previous meeting from August 1st?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as emailed.
Second. Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. Kurt, we'll go ahead and start with code enforcement.
Is there anybody here tonight representing 213 Roach City? Right here. Can you come up here?
Sure, sir.
Brad, next to my phone. All right, if you would give your name.
Todd Lee.
So, the pictures that you guys have in front of you are from 213 Roach Street. We've been there a few times this year, so I'll read through our timeline quick and then we'll talk to Mr. Lee. So on 5/23 of this year, code enforcement found numerous issues with this property. There's places where this is like a foot and a half tall. Our current ordinance is 6 inches, so we're 3 times in excess of what the height is. And then beside the little red shed there was an accumulation of rubbish. On the 26th of May, notices were sent out to abate the nuisance of the rubbish and the weeds. Those are also delivered on 5/31 by Decatur PD. So on June 12th, the yard had been mowed. It looked pretty respectable, but the lot wasn't done. The rubbish had not been removed, still existed there beside the shed. So you can see the pile there. Fast forward to July 27th. Back in a state of disorder. Any progress that was made was undone. So the pile of rubbish still exists beside the shed. The yard's back in horrible condition, and the mowing and trimming are definitely not getting taken care of. August 2nd, 2023, notice of hearing was issued. Hearing is scheduled for tonight, 6 p.m. That notice was delivered on 8/4 by Decatur PD. We revisited the property this morning for current pictures. Those are the last page. And the rubbish is still there beside the shed. The weeds between the house and the alley, some of them are in excess of 24 inches. So the house or the yard is in just another state of disrepair. I apologize. I should have had a copy of this for you, but you can look at that, and that's what we have.
Yeah, I'll be down there.
Okay. So how do you represent this property?
This is my ex-wife. Right now she's got a broken back, and she just had surgery yesterday. She broke it on July 3rd, so she called me up. I went down like a week and a half ago, and I mowed it and weeded it. Where you're talking about the weeds at 20 inches high, that's actually like a driveway.
Right.
I just never thought to do it.
Right.
So I'm going to mow it the rest of this year, and I'll pick up the stuff by the shed. That ain't no big deal.
Okay. That's fair enough. I wish you would have called, and I wish you would have been in contact. We just saved the trip from coming up.
Well, she didn't have the number. She lives in Huntington, so she called me. And so, yeah, I'll take care of it.
Okay. That's fair enough. When do you think you'll get out there and get ready?
I'm hoping to do it tomorrow. I wanted to do it today, but the weather hadn't been permitting.
Fair enough.
All right.
Thank you, sir. That was your time. That was it. Code enforcement.
That's it?
Thank you.
Dale and Dale. We're supposed to be.
Oh.
Yeah. Or president. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Get Don Yolanda Dale. Yeah.
Does Kurt know? He knows about that one too, right? Was
Yeah.
that Parker or was it
Angus.
Angus Drive? That
Don and Yolanda Dale.
on A.
Are you here on their behalf?
I'm done.
Okay. Yes. Would you like to come up?
Sure.
Is this a rental or is it
So, Mr. Dale is the record owner of the property, and this had been a long-standing code enforcement issue. Several notices have been sent to the property, the record owner at the address listed on their property tax card. It came to a point where notice was given to appear before Board of Works last summer, and fines were assessed. The city ended up having to go in and correct and abate the nuisances related to weeds and vegetation. That bill was sent again to the property. Fines accrued. Those were attached as liens on the property. When Mr. Dale received a notice from his bank that his escrow account for property taxes was insufficient to cover the debt owed, it was discovered by him at that time that the fines had been assessed and the liens were attached. And he is before Board of Works to present his, kind of state his request and ask for some leniency or ask Board of Works to release those liens based on a lack of notice. So if you would like to maybe go on, that was the quick 30,000-foot overview, but if you want to explain that a little bit further, you're more than welcome to do so.
Sure, yeah, that was very fair. So I was told by my brother-in-law that, he said, hey, he said, you know you have something going on over at the property. I'm like, no, I wasn't aware of it. He told me that on, I believe it was maybe January 10th of this year. So January 11th, I came to this building here, and I received an invoice. And I asked about it, I received an invoice. It was $410. And I asked if that was my responsibility, or that's a tenant's responsibility, given that in the lease it's a tenant's responsibility to maintain the property. She said, well, that I would need to go ahead and pay it. So I went ahead and paid that the day after I found out there was an issue. And so I paid that fine. I was unaware of anything beyond that. My understanding was that it was paid. I went to the property, discovered there was some issues. Also, the tenant was 4 months behind in rent. So I proceeded at that point with eviction and ended up evicting the tenant. And then went and had to clean up the property. So there are all kinds of things that happened at the property that, even inside the dwelling, that I was not aware of. And some very costly repairs that need to be done. So I was unaware of any fines because I never received any fines. I guess maybe the notices were going to 1103 Angus, and the tenant did not make me aware of them, probably thrown them away. I have no idea. So I paid that fine in January. Then in June, I was notified by my bank of a significant shortfall in my escrow account. And I didn't understand why. She said it had to do with property taxes. I didn't know that there was an increase in property taxes, especially to that amount. So I began investigating it and then found that it was close to $6,000 liens against the property for fines because the yard hadn't been mowed like it needed to be, and there was some rubbish that was in the yard.
So, Kurt, was it the $6,000? Was that? I mean, that's not just for mowing. Is that just fines that tack on?
Fines that were tacked on by the Board of Works.
So you have your tax bill goes to that address? Because evidently I think the letters were sent to wherever your tax bill goes.
Yeah, I was not aware of that until I came over on the 11th, January 11th, and then updated. They said, well, we send it to wherever the tax bill goes. So I updated my address here and then at another location to ensure that any documents pertaining to the property, specifically to the property, would come to my address.
Mm-hmm. Do you live in Decatur or you live somewhere else?
I live in Austin.
Okay.
Under Indiana law, the city followed the appropriate process and notice was served to the record owner at the address known to known to be used. So in that sense, there isn't a fault of anyone's on the city's end. Code enforcement acted in accordance with their policies and procedures and followed through with their process appropriately.
I guess I wasn't ignoring the issue. I wasn't like snubbing my nose at the city of Decatur. There was none of that. I just wasn't aware, and I had never received any notice. And the day that I didn't learn of it from my brother-in-law, who said he saw it in the newspaper, I believe, I came over the very following morning to address it, and then began addressing the bigger issue.
Mm-hmm. And I get that. I get that, you didn't know about the fines, you didn't know about the paying to mow. I guess it just seems odd to me that, you let a house get in this much disarray and not even come check on it. Because this had to go on for months and months and months to build up.
Well, my understanding was over the summer that it wasn't mowed.
Right.
And at the beginning of the summer, I provided him with a riding mower and a push mower. Both of those are at the property today. I've been maintaining the property all summer. So I understand that it's something that's critical and needs to be done. It wasn't something that I just ignored and just said, well, it is what it is. And then once I didn't learn of it, I began addressing it immediately.
So were the fines prior to the payment that he made in January, or was that after?
Yeah, they had to be prior.
That was prior.
The fines began to assess. So the first notice to abate was issued on May 23rd of 22. There was a final notice issued on June 10th. There was a notice of hearing served on June 28th, and I sent a letter to the Dales pursuant to Board of Works directive after the hearing that was dated 7/21 of 22, and at that point they were given I believe they were given 14 days to abate, and once that wasn't abated, the city went in, did the mowing, cleared up the vegetation, and then fines began to accrue. And they accrue at $100 a day until the statutory maximum of $2,500. So if there were 2 nuisance violations that went unabated, that can build up to a $5,000 fine pretty quickly.
Kurt, do you know how much of it was paying someone to mow it as opposed to how much were fines?
The $410 was the cost assessed for clearing up the weeds and vegetation. The remainder, I think, is related to the fines assessed for accumulation of rubbish and
Technically, the fine shouldn't have been over for 2 nuisance violations. The fine shouldn't have been over $5,000 total.
Right, $2,500 apiece.
Mm-hmm. But if there's interest that's accrued, statutory interest.
So the mowing fees have all been paid back. That's what he paid on in January.
I wouldn't want to drive by it every day. I mean, property management's property management. If you can own it, take care of it. If it's, I wouldn't want to be a neighbor. That's why we have fines. I feel bad for you because you didn't get the information.
I'm just asking you to extend some grace in the situation. I'm not a property manager by any stretch. I'm not looking to be a landlord. I understand there were some problems with the tenants in general as well. I'm sure that provoked many of the complaints. I know after I evicted them that I had several neighbors come to me and thank me for evicting them. Much of it was loud cussing, yelling, and loud music at all times of night, stuff like that I was not aware of. That was going on either. And I'm sure that motivated a lot of the complaints as well.
But you do own the property, and how did you come to acquire the property?
I purchased it maybe, 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
Okay. And when you purchased it, what was the intention to use the residence for, to use the property?
For my mother.
Okay. And that clearly wasn't her. So when she moved out, what was your intention with the property? Or when she ended up not living there?
Yeah, it's kind of convoluted. So my mother asked me about having these people move in with her. That happened, and then my mother ended up leaving the residence, and so those people were there. There were 2 individuals with a child. I probably should have evicted them a long time ago. Like I said, they were constantly behind rent. They did approximately $15,000 damage inside the home. So,
Were they problematic when your mom was still living there?
well, they were problematic with regard to not getting along. I didn't know how much of that was them and how much of that was my mother.
So the assessed fines right now are at like $6,000. Is that correct, or we don't know the exact number? Or it's a lien on the property now at the assess or with the
The
county?
fines had accrued with penalties and interest. I believe the amount is over $6,000 at this point.
Is the property cleaned up now, Kurt? Or Brad?
Last time we were there.
I don't think the shed has been repaired. I think there's
Yeah.
still holes in the roof, but it's
Pictures
mowed,
up
trimmed,
here from 6/29. These are from 6/29 this year.
What's your plans with the property now? Are you looking to re-rent it, or?
Well, I'm going to try to fix it up and sell it. Is the game plan.
Release support. You can maintain it. So, Mayor asked what the Board of Works options really are. The fines assessed can remain intact and remain attached. Board of Works does have the ability to release all or a portion of the liens, or it could be done conditionally upon completion and completion of necessary repairs and inspection by code enforcement. I mean, there are ways that the board can extend an element of grace. In the event that the liens are remaining attached, it's a hard lesson for a property owner and a property manager to learn, but that is ultimately, your responsibility to oversee that land, that structure, and make sure that it's in good repair and that it is, that you're a good neighbor. And it
So you had this all set up, so all your tax bills went direct to this house and not to you, or?
They didn't know that.
I didn't set it up, and it was escrow. So, I mean, everything was being paid. It's just I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, so the bank sent it in. I mean, the bank sent in your payments, so it wasn't like you had to worry about getting a notice or a billing statement and making that payment. I think we can appreciate that. It's just, from the city's perspective, there was no other way for us to know
Yeah, certainly, I understand that.
how to notify you.
I mean, my desire is to make improvements to the property. I mean, there was no guttering on the home. I just did that this summer. I guttering on the home, which is $1,000. I'm not ignoring it, not acting as if it's unimportant. I believe it is important.
How far away is it away from being able to be sold, or what's your plan? Like, is it going to sit for another year, or?
No, I don't want to. I'm hoping to do it this year. Just the cost of money right now is high. Not having cash to work on it with interest rates and what we are.
All right, I think it's kind of just a balance here, but I'd be willing to just waive half of the fines if the property is acceptable to code enforcement within, I don't know, just 3 months sound fair enough, that all the rubbish is cleaned up and the outside is picked up, that the
Holes in
neighbors,
the house, holes
Yeah.
in the roof.
that the neighbors don't have to look at this anymore.
I'd say 3 months.
3 months. I'll make that.
But if it doesn't happen,
Then the fines will go back.
full amount.
Yep. However, we have to do that legally, and that, I guess, would be my motion.
I'll second
Okay.
that. Is that acceptable to you, Kurt?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Is that fair to you?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
So the minutes will reflect the board's decision. I can also confirm that in writing to you, and just state out the terms. So within 3 months of today's date, and what the letter would reflect is that it would be your responsibility for the cleanup and the repairs, and then to contact code enforcement when those are done to your belief of satisfaction, and then they would do an inspection and notify the board for an update. And at that point, the city would contact the county auditor's office and do a partial release of that lien.
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay.
So Kurt or Brad, do you want to get with him just to let them know what you guys like to see done? Just share numbers or something?
It's pretty lenient, I think.
Okay,
But I don't really want
Jeff,
to
you-
escrow.
you're asking to move Nick Patton from probationary status?
Yes.
So Nick Patton has been with us a little over a year now. He's worked out very well, and I was petitioning to ask to move him from probationary status to first-class firefighter. I sent Phyllis a letter this afternoon about it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to remove Nick from probationary status.
I'll second.
Okay, motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
Radios.
Yep.
I'd like permission to order some new 800 radios
and 2 VHF. Our current 800 radios are from 2009 when the previous chief wrote a grant to purchase those. So we're just trying. What's happening is they're actually going out of tune or unprogramming themselves. Plus, ERS does no longer support them, so we cannot get knobs, antennas, or anything like that. It's roughly $22,000 for 6 radios. I have that in the wallet already.
Make a motion to move forward with that.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
So that was, I saw that today in the budget line item. Below it.
Yeah.
Okay, Ian, we have a request for Miller Land Surveying to do the survey at Merit Center.
Yep. So this is in reference to the city and county interlocal agreement with the city partitioning a portion of the northwest corner of the Merit Center property. I just need permission to work with Brett Miller to be able to get a survey ordered on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And just for you guys, that's, so the Council on Aging is going to be able to store some of their vehicles inside of a building now there. The ones with the hydraulics don't work real well in the winter when they get cold. And also, the county's moving towards a public transportation system. They got some grant funding from the state for. This will allow them some space to park a couple more vehicles there. So we're basically surveying off a piece of land on the northwest corner of the Merit Center for their building. MOU with Belmont Cadet Youth Football League. You have that?
I have a draft in front of Brad Weber,
Okay.
so we can probably scratch that. I don't have it ready to
Okay.
back to approve yet, but
Okay. Okay. All right, Jeremy, I think all the rest are you. Oh yeah, there is one other one, the mural. Let me do that. You can come up though.
Yeah, go ahead.
You can come up, unless you're going to paint the mural.
No, I'm not. Can you take the second to the last one off too to help you out a little bit?
Second class one?
Yeah.
There's a request for a mural at 241 North 2nd Street. Who's going to represent that? That's
Kurt.
for, Betsy's Boutique. Betsy's Boutique, is that? Okay. So this is the old Bears Den building. It's going right above the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Maybe?
So basically, this is what she wants to do. It'll be on the north side of the old Bears Den.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, this here is just a window that's already there on that side. She's going to paint the whole thing white, put parking vertically, and then Betsy's Boutique and Shop. Their little emblem on top. I've already given her permission from the building department, but we have to get Board of Works approval on all the murals as well,
Yep.
according to our ordinance.
I think that'll look nice down there.
And it's just going to cover up the whole side of the building there.
Correct. I think it'll look better than what it does now.
There it is.
I'll make a motion to accept that mural.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Is it just going up halfway of the building though? Like, that's not all the way.
I think it's going to go the whole way.
Is it?
Okay. You want to start with custom net backstop, or?
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, we've been working with the men's league and co-ed on the revamp of the Kikianga. As you know, a couple of years ago, we applied for a permit through the state to be able to utilize that for softball, men's court softball facility. That was approved, and you know, we've been going back and forth looking at what we want to do and what we think we can do out there. We met with Jim from Custom Net Backstops, which did the Rev Sports Complex, and a couple of years ago, actually, when we first met with him about this, he met all the requirements for this project due to being able to raise the netting up 10 feet above, basically off the ground or above ground for the flooding, which was a requirement. We ran, and he understood the project and everything. He gave us a proposal. This is real similar to what we ran into with the Rev Sports Complex, as no one else does that type of work around here. It does fall under the $150,000 bid requirement, but asking and receiving another quote is, you know, next to impossible. Jim has come back with $98,750 to do the work for this. So, yes, I'm here to get some feedback from you guys. He would request 3 payments, third at a time. The first payment due when we sign the contract at $32,916.67.
Did you get Ann's email about asking him to do the 30 days, within 30 days?
What's that now?
The email that Ann sent you about payment, remove the 1/3 advance payment and change it to 30 days.
That was in reference, I thought the two of you had had a conversation and that it was going to be invoiced within 30 days. If the expectation is, based on current law, it would be permissible to do an advance payment with it due at the date of signing, or?
No, that's a total separate item. That was changed to 30, to net 30.
Okay. Okay.
That we were shuffling over stuff.
Uh-huh.
We were talking about being paid up front for it.
Right, right.
So we did get that changed to net 30.
If that is, I mean, it is a permissible provision within the contract, so it's not required to be changed if the funds are available to pay that in advance.
What's the timeline on that, if he does it?
He said he would probably get started on it this month.
How long will it take him to get it done?
It won't take long.
Do we want to, is
Probably a
it
month.
basically going to be nets?
Poles and
That's
net.
the polls.
You want to wait till spring?
He's got time now. I would say if he's
Just
got
ask him.
time, let's get it done.
Just another season of weather on nets. I just asked, that's the only reason I asked.
He does a lot of colleges and like Parkview Field and stuff like that, so come springtime,
He's going to be
we're
busy.
probably going to go to the bottom of the list.
Right. How long do those nets last? Are they 15 years?
Yeah, ish, depending on what kind of care is taken.
Yeah. I just wondered.
Are these removable then, or they just?
You can take them down. It's set up now just to crank them up because they have to be 10 feet
We have some rules with
during a flood time.
the permit we got with the DNR. We have some rules we have to follow. Whenever flood gets to certain stages above 17 feet, we have to have somebody go raise them up.
Actually, this will require the Parks Department to have an SOP, the standard operating procedure, once the river, I think I stated in the permit that once it was predicted to go 17 feet or higher, which was basically, floodplain, or,
Is it 100-year floodplain, you think?
No,
Nah.
that's like 26 feet.
Okay.
that we would raise it.
Okay.
More than likely, there's pros and cons about leaving them up all the time, but we have a really bad winter and it, freezes and thaws and freezes and thaws, and they just stay up, or they just end up taking them down. It's going to be a trial and error.
Right.
Make things.
And this is for one field, or?
Yeah.
Jeremy, the one question I had with the contract that I responded back to was, what is residual ground damage? And should that be better defined within the contract? Because they say that they're not responsible for it, but what does that entail?
Basically, any utilities or anything that unmarked utilities that they would hit, which there's nothing back there.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, if
it's pretty mute on this project. Other
Okay.
projects, it would be an issue,
Mm-hmm.
and we did run into that out of Rev,
Okay.
which it was part us, part them. Yeah, it's pretty neat point on this.
Okay.
Does this include backstop too? I didn't know how far this goes.
It's
Is it the whole thing?
It's the whole field, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, brand new backstop, everything.
Yeah, very nice facility.
I think we've been waiting on, what, 5 years now? 4 years?
Well, they were moved out of there 4 or 5 years, 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah.
We moved out of there in July of 18 when we started tearing everything out.
Yeah. So,
I'd make a motion to go ahead and get it going.
Second.
motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay.
The other piece that goes along with this is the lighting, the field lighting for that project. Due to all the flooding and the damage and stuff that we've had, over the course of 20 years or so, AEP is going to require us to redo the electrical panel service, all the logs and everything are just, it's basically it's freestanding out there, out in the middle of nowhere, or out in the open logs, and everything have just destroyed that thing, and it's leaning. So we have been talking with AEP and Blakey Electric. Blakey is doing all our street lights and poles and stuff, just to get an idea of what we'd be looking at. The lighting is not anything that we would absolutely have to do right now, but there is a lead time on a lot of this material. You're looking up to 6 months to get some of this stuff before once you order it.
Yeah. So
there's a concern there that if we don't at least, to get the stuff ordered, the price could increase, which in turn we would end up paying more. And if the lead times go out further, you could be in the middle of next summer before you would ever get lights out there. So the first quote, it's just for the electrical service alone. That's $7,690. That's one 400 amp single phase electric service.
Is that from Blakey?
From Blakey, the meter base, all the wire, the conduit. What AEP will do is they will supply us the material to get to the pole because it'll be underground, and then they will come and actually run the underground from the pole. We will put the conduit in. The city guys will put the conduit in. And then Blakey will take that from there. And then the second portion of this is actually for the field lighting itself is $56,500. $56,500.
What's the lighting? Is it LED?
It is LED.
Okay. Similar to what we have out at, we will have in the future?
Similar.
Okay.
Not as, but it's going to be real similar.
Okay.
So that, basically addressing these two things, the netting and the lights and stuff, it's going to put you in good standing. So finally getting that portion, that project behind us.
So now this is paid with the ARPA money, or this is paid with the Kikianga
So
donation?
some of it will be out of patronicity and some of it's out of the ARPA money that we set aside for parks.
Okay.
So Jamie will have to go through all of her quotes that she sent into patronicity to figure out whether out of the dog park, the softball, and the fish, the pond, what actually goes out of patronicity.
I will verify all this before I turn it in to make sure that they're marked
Thank you.
accordingly. So that was it on at this point.
What do you think, Tyler?
This money was already then budgeted, or that's what we moved the money for
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago?
Yeah. That was part of the fundraising for the Kiki on the project, and then what we set aside out of ARPA funds for. Yeah.
Was it in line with what we thought we were going to have in the lighting?
Yep.
We actually had these quotes when we set those numbers.
Mhm.
Okay.
We're set.
I'll make a motion to accept the quotes.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. American Structure Point contract for 5 points.
Okay, we're at the very last couple of stages of that project. Dan and I met with them today on just kind of the plan in general. Trying to figure out what we need to do yet, what we don't need to do. Looking at landscape, looking at some kind of couple options on there. We've known about an amendment for a little while now that needs to happen here before fall. And what this is, now that we've secured the gas station property, NDOT has made a requirement approximately 24 months ago that you are required to do basically an environmental study on the property. Some soil borings on the property, off the property, any asbestos
Spills.
studies, testing, so on and so forth. So we have a clear path when we go to construction. This is not going to add to our current contracts that we have. What we're proposing is just moving some money out of right of way and preliminary engineering that's left over. And this will qualify for the 80/20 cost share.
How much is it?
I looked at this one, Phyllis. Am I missing a page? Did you see an actual amount?
They just
I didn't see
have,
it on here.
I just saw that they were providing assurances that it was not going to exceed the original scope of the budgeted contract.
They had money
amount.
set aside, probably contingencies or something, and I think that it's coming out of there.
Okay.
So it's just letting us know that these things are being required by IDEM.
But actually,
I mean, NDOT, I mean, actually.
is what they used to do years ago is that it was, okay, city, now you go take care of it. And then you pay it all. But now, being that they've had some trouble with some properties like this, contaminated soil and such. And this also, when they do the testing, it also sets the guidelines for the construction workers when they are working in that area. If they're putting in storm sewer or whatever, hey, we do have some contaminated soil, we don't have contaminated soil. So, just makes it a clearer picture.
Yeah. You need a motion on that?
it'll need signed.
Huh?
It'll need signed.
Because it's amendment. Yeah, we need a motion for me to sign the amendment.
So moved.
All three of them.
This amendment requires all three.
Yeah.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And then for the most part, I would think by the end of October, we'll just be kind of in a waiting game on the project, whenever the money comes
Just one.
I just printed one.
in. Do you guys have a copy of that, or do you need?
What you want? Another one? For the-
No, I don't need it.
Okay.
Tyler, you signed that yet?
Oh, sorry.
Then you want to talk about the Public Works building?
Okay. For a while now, we've talked about the possibility of building an additional building down on Green Street, or not Green Street, Elm Street. And this come about almost 2 years now since we vacated, or not actually technically vacated, but sold Green Street facility to the Adams County Resource District. Currently, we have a building full of stuff on Green Street. We have a good portion of stuff in the Marks building. We have a good portion of stuff in Kevin Gerber's portion at the city pool. And we have quite a bit of stuff sitting outside, down at the Elm Street facility, so kicked around different ideas. We do not have a total design done yet for a building. We're looking at basically a stick-built building instead of a pole barn style, just for different building standards and, you know, long-term, we don't have to worry about the poles and stuff. You know, you're probably talking that 450,000 range, 500,000 range before you're all said and done, depending on which way you go, how big you go. So I guess I just kind of want to open up the discussion here. Is, you know, technically we would have to be out in March. Grant Street, I have talked with the county a little bit, just explaining to them where we're at and such. So we do an open discussion. But, you know, Kevin, you want to maybe possibly come up and talk a little bit and what your thoughts are and, you know, how we can make this happen? Do you guys have any ideas? Before we go much further, because obviously it's, you know, we're going to have to get some things figured and get some permits pulled, which is going to be a little time consuming. You know, it may be a little soon. We haven't went through the budget yet, which is always this, I'm sure. But, just trying to figure some things out.
You can insulate and heat this building? How big are you talking about?
What's that?
How big a building are you talking about?
At first, we were looking, right now we have 54 by 120. We have two of those buildings that are completely full and not wide enough for the trucks we have. So we were hoping to go about 80 by 200. Actually have a wash bay on one end, because it didn't require us to wash everything inside. Have a men's and women's restroom up in the corner. We have a lot of women working for us summer months, and in order that, you know, we need to be compliant with everything. And then have a little training room in the corner, so we're not competing with their compressor and heater and everything else running in the shop all the time while we're trying to do our annual training. So for the most part, then the rest of it will just be equipment storage. We need to go plenty wide to be able to get a lot of those longer pieces of equipment in there without packing into each other when you're trying to get them out. So that's why we'd like to go that wide. I have talked to a couple of contractors. We have some, you know, and obviously we have to put it out for bid, but it sounds pretty promising as long as we can get a concrete contractor on board. It gets concrete in sooner than later, and then, you know, it will give them a place to go this winter when it's probably not as conducive to work in the mud and everything else. So, it could happen soon. It could happen in 6 or 8 months. It could happen in a year, depending on what our time frame is.
The Marsh building's roof's falling in pretty bad. A lot of insulation on the floor, and it's just water over the place. So that needs to come down. Did you ever get a bid on that? Tear that down?
Well, I've got some thoughts on that.
Okay.
On that building.
I like the idea of it. We're going to need storage. What'd you get out of that? What did we get out of the county on that building?
It was right at 80, wasn't it?
What's that?
80?
I cannot recall off the top of my head, but it was,
I feel like it was around 80,000 if I remember right. What they, do you remember, Phil? Or?
What they paid for Grant Street?
I think it was just under 80, yeah.
Okay.
So we're just trying to figure out.
I'd like for you to go ahead and move forward and plan on it. You got the ground.
Yeah.
You was talking about a building.
If we would do,
Would the ladder truck fit in there too?
if need be,
Just asking.
you know, and I know the question is that's running probably through some of your heads is why heat. But with this new equipment, you have to keep some heat in there and do all the emissions stuff because
exhaust fluid that they use is like water, so when it freezes,
You planning on putting heat in the floor?
you're pretty, if it's open. We looked at heat before, we looked at radiant heat, so you have to keep it from at least freezing inside to be able to use that equipment more. And that's the problem that we're having now. You know, every new piece of equipment that you buy has that DEF fluid in it to meet all the emission standards. You can't leave stuff outside. You know, we're talking 450-ish, 500. The Mack truck cost us almost that, and it's sitting outside. So it gets real cold out. You know, we have a lot of other pieces of equipment that are outside that, you know, stuff really needs to be in somewhere. We're just running out of places to go with the stuff.
All your vehicles got block heaters, don't they?
Majority.
Does that keep the DEF warm too? No. Huh.
We get really creative when it gets really cold.
I imagine. I like the idea of it. I don't have a
It
problem.
costs us some body shop bills at times, but we make it work.
Well, I mean, people want their snow removed, and we got to have streets open and part of
The
what
bigger
you're doing.
long, the 200 long would keep us from having to do this again in 5 years.
What you said about, doesn't Sue need a workshop area? Is that in a different building then, or?
Sue would need a workshop area, and I know when Tyler, you and I and Matt looked into this a few years back. Remember when we went down to the highway department? We kicked around the concept there of vacating that second building that's right inside the gate on the left.
Yeah.
Emptying out, because that's all trucks and stuff that really don't fit in there anymore.
Yeah.
Cleaning it up, emptying it out, painting it. You know, we just finished that in 2008, so it's not that bad of a building on the inside.
Yeah.
That would give her a workshop to be able to work on home picnic tables and park stuff,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But take her equipment over to the new building.
Okay.
At the same time, with the tents and stuff coming out of the Marks building, if they needed to go down there, which that would be fine. This would give us some areas on the racking and stuff in the lean-to.
Get it up in the air.
To be able to get it up in the air and get it off the floor, so nice.
Good idea.
Right.
And that, you know, that way it would give you a designated area. That's your stuff.
Right. So you don't have, do you have your, I mean, are you asking for us to approve something right now, or are you?
No, I just need some feedback on what your thoughts are for funding. If you support this, and basically just to give us the permission to start getting some of the details worked out. Obviously, you know, we would need to secure some funding, or we put it out for bid, or no, kind of roughly.
Right.
I've got some real hard quotes, but you have to put everything out for bid.
Yeah.
And there's some couple of things that I would, you know, when we meet as a group, probably next week, if Ann's available, I might be in to set in on it, too, just to make sure she's up to speed on what we're proposing.
Okay.
Because there is some options.
Yeah.
You know, we need to make sure that we're doing it right.
Do we need a motion at this time? I'd make a motion to move forward.
I mean, move forward with it, and, you know,
Get us some numbers.
do we need to work on the funding whenever the bids?
How we would like it funded.
What's that?
We had talked, yeah, I had to think about how, if there was any funding available for that. We had talked at one point about utilities chipping in for that, since they would be the majority of the user, or splitting that street, parks, utilities. But,
Storm.
yeah, but that's a big number to split up only a few different ways, so
Yeah.
that's,
But the beauty of it is you've already got the ground too.
yeah.
And the street's going to be pretty well tapped out for a couple of years with the roundabout project and stuff, so. You know, I can probably jump in on the back end on some finishes and stuff, but.
Does this have a 4-foot wall all the way around it like they did in Monroe?
2-foot wall, you can do a 4-foot wall, you could just do it on grade. I've got a price for a 2-foot and 4-foot wall.
there's pros and cons both ways. We're doing it just on grade.
What's the cost difference between grade and the 2-foot wall?
I don't think he can but local concrete guy, I don't think he gave me the grade number.
You talking concrete walls?
That's a lot of concrete all the way down. Like, I mean, I get it to protect the building. I understand that, but I mean, you could be talking. I mean, that could be that could be $80,000 to $100,000 to go 80 by 200 building. You know.
Yeah.
Just be careful when you're backing in. I know you're going to have accidents, but man, that's a lot of money in concrete. Just
About 30,000 difference.
30,000.
The only concern I would have is if we did it if we went on grade, is if you finished it on the inside of the road, so the vent side. Now if we just got it up a little bit or not, well, we finished it, double plate on the bottom and maybe not set the J channel down on top of on the concrete, because that road solving that anti-icer is but that's all things we can work out.
Mm-hmm.
The concrete is just about as much well, actually it is more than what Millings
Yeah.
by far.
Wow.
With either option.
So you're going to need to, once you figure out exactly how you're going to do it, you're going to have to put it out for sealed bids, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what it costs.
Would there be, that's too many money. Let's say the option to leave some at gravel at first, but then, I mean, you don't want to keep gravel.
I'd just say carry on, move forward, and we'll discuss it when we get the bids and things.
We're working, so. Thank you.
Jeremy, just email me with a couple of dates that you guys are looking at meeting, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah,
I don't know what he's doing, really.
Okay.
Okay.
Contractors, so throwing out some options, so just help get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I did sign the purchase agreement from the regional sewer district in the city, and it was $78,500 for the purchase price.
okay.
And that kind of.
What fund did that go into? Did it go back to Parks, General, or what, Phyllis?
I remember where we put that. It's the park, so I would say run the parks. Well, no, it'd be split. Utilities is the water, the Quonset is the water department, and the
other
garage, the other garage is
The
Park and
parks.
Rec.
Okay,
So it'd probably be split.
all right.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see what, I mean, even like he's talking about with corrosiveness, it'd be nice to see a 6-inch wall as opposed to 2 foot, and 4 foot's going to get expensive.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Guess we don't really, I mean,
So we're just a consensus to have him move forward with.
right. So,
But I do think that part of the question was, what are the funding sources? How is this project going to be
I think we need
handled
to see,
when?
well, I think we need to see bids. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
But if it's going to be a building that is used between parks, utility,
Storm,
Storm.
sanitary.
street, wastewater, sanitary, then, is a prorated share based on the amount and size of equipment stored within it, or how?
I think Board of Works thinks it's a good idea for building council to figure out where the money's coming from.
Well, that's true. There should be.
That is part of it, for sure,
Right.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay, did you have anything else for Board of Works?
I think I did.
Ian, you?
No.
Either you two have anything?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.